purposefully. I love you all with all my heart, with all my might. My videos are about love, infinity, energy, creation, because we're infinite creators, we're infinite energy, we're infinite love. This is who we are. Why? Because of the human heartbeat, the pulse of life, the pulse of creation. We humans exist because of the heartbeat. The human organ is our biological creator. Without the heart, we wouldn't exist. So our instinct to live is our heartbeat. Our heartbeat generates an electromagnetic field, a force field of creation that powers the human body. It generates the current. It generates the electricity required to power the human brain, to generate signals. So we can think, we be conscious, be self-aware. Our organs function as a result. It's not a coincidence that we love with our hearts, because our instinct to live is our instinct to love, because we love with our heart and our heart gives us life with the heartbeat. It comes from the same place. So our instinct is to live, our instinct is to love. We live to love and we love to live. We are a benevolent species. This is our nature. This is who we are. We are a benevolent race. We're a heartful species. This is who we are. This is our nature. This is who we are. We're a benevolent species, a benevolent race, heart-based species, love-based species. We create with our hearts. The delivery mechanism of creation is the human heart. At a biological scale, we create with our hearts. What better proof than the heart itself giving us life with a heartbeat so we can love. And we love life because we love to be purposeful. We want to have meaningful lives, happy lives. This is our nature. Fulfilling lives. This is what we want. This is what we strive for. This is our purpose for life. Biology is clear. We love with our hearts. Why? Because it's the way it is. It's the way energy operates. Heart, energy, love can be measured at the lab with equipment and tools. It's a wavelength. It's a pattern. Structural creation. Frequency, vibration. Heartbeat has a rate in hertz that can be measured. It's beautiful. Just like the hertz of the human brain and the wave of the human brain, it can also be measured. Just like the Schumann resonance of the planet Earth and the resonance of the electromagnetic field of the sun and the electromagnetic field of the Earth. Also like us, light spherical beings. They're actual, literally physical objects. They're literally spherical objects. The earth and the sun are creators. They also have an electromagnetic field just like us. The human eye is spherical. The brain is spherical. The heart is spherical. And we have electromagnetic fields that are spherical. We're spherical light beings. This is who we are. And the proof is obvious. We make love. So we have children. Our creation. And we love our creation. Our instinct to love our children. You see, love creates. Creation is life, and we create life with love. Love is the mechanism of creation at the biological scale. You see, and we don't only love our children, we also love the things that we create with our hands outside our children and our offspring, future generations, our successors. We have the ability to create. We think we're creative. Creative means creation. We think with our minds and we're creative. You see, with sundials, we stare at the sun like I am right now, and we open the portal, our sun, spherical eyes, connect with the spherical sun and the electromagnetic field, and our heartbeat and our electromagnetic field of creation that gives us life gets in sync with the heart and with the mind, and we get in sync with the electromagnetic field of the sun. It's called building the bridge. We build the bridge by staring at the sun and opening our hearts, our minds, our eyes. Open the portal, build the bridge. So all this infinite energy comes through our eyes, through our iris. So our brains get supercharged, our hearts get supercharged. We become more creative, more powerful creators. Our true self gets manifested because we have dreams of our future self, what our true self wants of us. And we take action here and now, purposeful daily action. And our take actions with our heart, the bravery of our hearts, allows us to take the actions that do what is required of us so we can manifest free will with daily purposeful action here and now. As the sun comes out, this is the truth, this is objective reality. We are creators, we are here to create with sundials. We're in sync with the sun. a dial. We move with the sun. Our eyes require that energy. The sun rises every day from the east, and our instinct is to get up with the sun. This is who we are. We build the bridge. We open the portal every day. Sun iris nexus, a human practice. We're designed to stare at the sun. It's the most powerful fundamental energy source, sunlight, straight into our eyes, supercharging us so we can take action, make our dreams come true, because we're compasses. Compasses are spherical, just like the sun, just like our electromagnetic field. Remember who we are. We're the human race. We're light spherical beings. We're infinite eternal creators. We're the defenders of the Republic of Planet Earth. We're the leaders of the Republic of Planet Earth. We're the citizens of the Republic of Planet Earth. We are the citizen. Mother Earth is the Republic of Planet Earth. It's our mother. Mother Earth created us with the support systems to support biological life and the DNA who we are. And the sun is our father. Created the conditions so the earth can exist, so we can live. And the biological creator is the heart. Our creator is the heart, the human heart, so we can have an electromagnetic field and exist and live and have high frequency and high energy and high vibration, high results, high throughput because of our bandwidth, our wavelength, our resonance, our oscillation with existence through our conscious and our self-awareness, our consciousness, our actions determine our future and our destination because of our action. We manifest free will here and now with daily purposeful action. This is what we do. This is why we exist. Our purpose to live is to exist, to create with heart, energy, backing our creations with love. This is why we're here. And this is what today's video is all about compass, about sandal, about who we are. So if you want to ask, this is the name of the chat today, ask this video. If you want to, as the sun comes out and the truth comes, hitting me, the light of creation itself, telling me to communicate with you. So I resonate with my heart, with my energy. My dreams come true as I speak with you. Sharing the message of love, the creation, infinity, life itself. Who we are, infinite creators, infinite energy, infinite love. So you can always review the image on y.how/us. That's y.how/us. You can check it out on Substack and on YouTube as well. So it starts with us, with infinite Y's, bear infinite house. I'll repeat that one more time. Us, with infinite Y's, bear infinite house. Say that one more time. Us, with infinite Y's, bear infinite house. Why how? The recalibration system of compass. Who we are, we all compass. We're infinite eternal creators. We're infinite eternal compasses, all of us. Why how is the fifth primary element. It recalibrates our compass so we stay on true north and we get to our destinations. Our dreams come true with our actions. Purposeful daily action. It's all together. It's a self-correcting mechanism to ensure that our true self energy is in alignment with our identity, with our actions, with our purpose, with our time and our energy, with our flow, with why how, with true north and destination. Us, with infinite Y's, bear infinite house, because we're infinite. Infinite Y's, I have been speaking about the infinite Y and what it is, the insatiable Y, the nature of Y, it's infinite nature. Yesterday was all about that. And how we manifest infinity through why how. Remember, why how is the mechanism to manifest infinity. We create infinity with our actions, and that's how to action, principles, behavior. So, because we are creators, we bear infinite house. We have a mechanism to bear reality, to bear house. We bear them, we bring them into existence with our actions. Our heart guides us. Infinite Y, infinite creation. Who we are, we're infinite. This is our nature. An infinite with infinite Y's, we bear infinite hows. Us, the human race, sundials, compasses, this is who we are. The sun is beaming. This is the way it is. It all starts with a 0. If you look at the visual, you would see this pattern, this mathematical algorithm represented with the number 0. 0 is the beginning of it all, is the sphere, is the circle. Everything starts with 0. It's the first number, it's the primordial number. All numbers come from 0, is the first number. You can divide any number by 0 and you get an infinite output. Indefinite, mathematically speaking, is infinite, is boundless, is limitless, is endless, is infinite. Because you can divide 0 into existence, into infinity. You take a sphere and you can create a singularity out of any sphere, out of any circle, out of any 0. You can divide space and the vacuum into infinity. You take a figure, for example, a 0, and you draw a triangle inside of it. A tetrahedron. I spoke about this yesterday. But let's think in two terms, in 2D terms, two-dimensional terms. So rather than a sphere, we know in a three-dimensional it has volume, so it's a sphere. But let's think of it in 2 dimensions. The 0, just the 0 as a circle. One line that goes to infinity because it has no end, it has no beginning, it's infinite. It's endless. That's the number 0. It's the first number. It's the most important number because everything comes from 0. The womb, where life comes from, is spherical. The human heart is spherical, that creates life. The earth is spherical. The sun is spherical. It's like the 0. It's telling us right in our face the nature of existence. Infinity equals 0. 0 is infinity. It starts with 0. Everything starts with 0. It's the beginning of it all. So if you think about it mathematically and what 0 means, you think of it as a sphere, as a circle in the 2-dimensional spectrum plane. So you have this field that is a plane, 2-dimensional plane, and then you draw a circle, you draw a 0. And what does that do? Well, you can divide it into infinity through geometry. You see, it's called the Maldrake equation. It's just infinity, singularity. It's the event horizon with things. You can divide a space into infinity. So you take the circle and then you draw a triangle inside the circle, an equilateral triangle, 3 angles right inside the circle. The circle, and then there is a triangle inside the circle, an equilateral triangle, 3 equal angles, 45 degrees angles. All of them inside. Then what do? Well, that's one triangle. Then you draw an inverted triangle. And you form what I spoke to you about, the star tetrahedron. So you have the star tetrahedron, 2 inverted triangles creating polarity, 2 axes, north, south, the poles of the sphere. So you have a star tetrahedron, 1 triangle, another triangle intersecting in the middle, so you have 6 points of intersection, 6 angles inside this sphere now. And then once you do that, you can draw a circle around each of the intersecting points because you have 6 points touching the sphere. Now, the circle. In the beginning you have 3. 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. But when you draw the other triangle inverted and you meet them in the middle, you find the vector, the isometric vector where they meet, what you call the center of gravity of the sphere, the radius of the sphere, right at the heart of it. Then what happens of the circle? When you find the radius of the circle, you have this star tetrahedron, this 6-pointed star, equilateral, all equal sides, and you have 6 points touching the sphere, touching the circle. Each of the angles of the triangles, inverted triangles inside the circle. So you have 1 angle here, 1 angle at the bottom, 1 on the left, 1 on the right. and then on the sides. So it's 3 and 3 is 6. 6 angles. 3 plus 3 equals 6. And at each of those intersecting points, you can, with a compass, you can draw a circle in each of, at the radius of, at the center of gravity, at the middle, at the heart, at the, what you call the origin, the 0 point, right? This, the point of origin, the radius of each of those new vectors, all these new points inside the circle, and you draw a circle. So you have 6 circles inside the bigger circle now. You see, this is the main circle, then you have the triangle inside of it, the inverted triangle, and then you create 6 points inside that circle. And now each of those points, those vectors, you can draw with a compass right in the heart of it. You can draw a circle around it. So you have new 6 circles around the bigger circle. And then when you can do inside that circle, you can draw another triangle and inverted it, and you have 6 another points inside that very circle. See, the bigger circle has 6 new circles because of the triangles and the angles, and then each of those new 6 circles can have another we can draw another triangle inside of them. And we invert it, we polarize it with 2 triangles and generate a star tetrahedron inside of it. We can draw these with compasses. If you have a big enough piece of paper, A2 paper, A1, very large, and you draw a big circle with a compass, then you can have a big triangle, inverted triangles, 2 triangles, and the vector matrix that comes as a result of the isometric polarization, finding the vector, the radius of that triangle right at the heart of it, and then at each of the 6 points you draw another circle. So you have 6 circles inside the bigger circle. And because you have an A1 piece of paper for this exercise, now you can draw with a compass at the radius of each of those intersections another circle. At each of those points you draw a circle, a circle, a circle, a circle, a circle, a circle. And once you have that circle, you can do the polarization of the tetrahedrons again in a 2D plane, which is 2 inverted triangles. And then you do the same again, and then that new circle would have 6 points. And at each of those points you can draw another circle at each of those points. And you can go to infinity. If you do it on a computer, you can graph it, computationally speaking, on a computer. And you put it on a computer, you can just keep on drawing circles and circles and circles and circles inside the original circle without going out of the circle. So you see, you can go into infinity within one finite space, this 0, this sphere, this circle, the 0. And this is just a mathematical representation of geometry. The Maldrake equations speak about these. There's so many mathematical equations. I might be saying the wrong name, might not be Maldrake. I think it's Maldrake, but it might be a different name actually. Excuse me if I'm using the wrong theorem. But there's a mathematical expression that represents this, mathematically speaking. And we call this rendering. This is what computation mathematicals are when it comes to rendering. When we render graphs and create with a digital computer, with a screen, with a software that renders graphics and video games or whatever, we have this equation. We use this algorithm of infinite partition. It's called fractals. The mathematical equation is fractals. The axiom, the proof is fractal mathematics. It's fractal geometry. So a fractal is this endless mathematical. Sheldrake, I think it is, I don't remember, is a mathematician that discovered these back in the 70s or 80s. And he did all this computational work. So it's this fractal mathematics. You see, it starts with 1, 0, 1 circle, and then you can break it into infinity forever. You can divide it into infinity. So you're dividing space into infinity, and the software, you can just go forever. It will never end, and you can create this fractal world. And this is what biology is. If you think about it mathematically, what's the human cell? You see, it ends up into energy, quantum level of creation. We call them atoms, particles, photons. There's also the Higgs boson, all these different names that we give it, quartz. We have all these Planck particles. All this is just infinite energy. You see, there's no limits because we can divide the vacuum into infinity. This is a whole principle. This is a notion of infinity. Infinity is endless. And you can divide it at a molecular level to infinity at a quantum level. But you can also make it infinitely large. So you can do the opposite. You can do the opposite, which is the flower of life, which is creation, us. Instead of dividing ourselves into infinity, we expand ourselves into infinity, growth. What nature is growth. So we can go infinitely small, but we can also go infinitely large, which is us. The human body, astronomy, the creation, infinity, all these astronomical objects, celestial things outside in the cosmos, what we call the universe, but in reality it's not such a thing as a universe or a meta-universe or a multiverse. It's an infinite number of, it's infinite creation, it's eternity. Eternity is that, it's eternal, it's forever, it's infinite. It's creation, it never ends, it's endless, it's limitless, it's boundless, it just goes forever because zero represents nature, the sphere. So we can do it the other way. A human cell, which is also spherical, gets divided. It's a biological terminology that when the cell splits into two, it duplicates. And it has another cell and then another cell and it grows. That's growth. You see, rather than dividing the circle into infinity to prove this concept mathematically, fractals, rather than dividing into quantum from everything, you see, energy levels and density, instead of going small to prove the concept, you can also go large. The cell goes into infinity, divides. We have hundreds of trillions of cells in the human body. We used to think it was just a few billion cells, but it has been proven that actually it's in the hundreds of trillions of cells now, and it would most likely end up being infinite number of cells that make the human body. Because we constantly creating cells, it never stops, and because we're creating at a molecular level, we're just infinitely creating ourselves. You see, it's exponential growth. And then you can you can draw it as well, infinite creation. You can extrapolate it into infinity. You can draw it as well, rather than dividing the circle, breaking, the vacuum space, dividing space into an infinite fractal world that is digital or is just physical. Rather than doing that, we can expand it outward, infinitely, growth, real creation, because creation is outward expansion. Creation is outward because it comes from this infinite small thing that just grows. So, but you can also see the nature by going back into. That's why life is biological. We see life physically. We experience it through our senses, our sight. We live it, we touch it, we have senses, we're conscious, we're self-aware. We see the universe, we see the cosmos, existence, reality, creation. We see the planets, they're spherical, the electromagnetic field. We can measure it, we can test it. We create with our actions, we create with our minds, with our hearts, with our purpose, with compass, we're sundials. And this is why we see this infinite expansion outward. But we also can go inside of us, so we can see where we come from, our origin. And then we go down with a microscope and we can see we cells, and then the cells have a DNA, and the DNA created us, and the DNA, what is energy, is resonance, is atoms, is photons. And all these particles that are very small, and they break down into infinity because the Planck particle is not the smallest oscillation, it's not the smallest frequency, that's just the smallest one that we can measure with the tools that we have right now. The Higgs boson, all this, what they call the light particle, the particle of creation, at the Hadron Collider over there in Europe, they hit these particles at the speed of light, and this motion shows the vacuum and the structure of reality itself, the pattern of creation. I've been talking to you about this organizing pattern of creation, this structure of creation, this aging of creation, energy itself, and it's geometric, is what I'm talking to you. Is the tetrahedron, is the star tetrahedron. is the flower of life, is spheres, is 64-sided, is this beautiful mechanism that builds up the sphere itself, and that goes to infinity. But we see the structure now, we can see it, but we can just keep on doing it, and we're going to continue to accelerate particles and hit them at the speed of light. And we're going to keep on proving when we build bigger hadron colliders and we do bigger things, and the collision of particles happen at a faster rate than the speed of light, because light is not the fastest thing. You see, because light breaks down at a level. If you break down the photon, which is this light particle, right, this wave, because the light is both a particle and a wave, is both. How you see, you take a particle, say for example a droplet of water, it's been proven at labs and MIT and all these different institutions. You get a particle and you move it across the field of creation, space, and it creates waves as it moves. So it's both a particle and a wave, and which is us. We are a body and we move and we create waves with an electromagnetic field. So it's the same. You see, it's the scales of creation. It's the same. It's all the same level of creation, but at different scales of density. So if we keep on hitting particles, we're just going to keep on going to a level higher than light itself, because light is the perception that we see with our eyes and we can measure at the scale of creation, biological scale, because we measure light through our eyes and our senses. But there's faster speeds than light, because infinity is infinitely fast. Quantum entanglement, which is the connectivity at the level, is a mathematical equation in physics. Quantum entanglement, which is the principle that we're using for quantum computing and quantum communication and all these highly advanced tech that we are already developing on Earth, across the world, it exists because this principle called quantum entanglement. And quantum entanglement is essentially the oscillation, is the acceleration, the resonance of particles that are in constant connection, they're in sync. And these molecules, these atoms, these particles, these waves, this resonance, this oscillation, they could be a distance further than the speed of light, further than what the speed of light can measure, say 300,000 meters per second, which is what the speed of light is, because that's what we measure with our eyes. But quantum entanglement says that you can move, you can stimulate, acceleration is called, you can activate, you can accelerate the resonance by stimulating this molecule through motion, this particle, this wavelength, call it an atom, a photon. You can stimulate it and it gets the polarized, the equivalent of it, it's polar, it's opposite side, you see, because it needs polarization. It has two ends. The other end gets stimulated and gets, the communication happens faster than the speed of light, at further distance than the actual distance of the speed of light. This has been measured at labs. It's called quantum entanglement. So how is it possible that creation itself, which is infinite energy, communicates faster than the speed of light, and the communication happens instantly? Because if the speed of light was the limit, which is what all these classical physics suggest, which is wrong, they're based on wrong understanding of reality, because they're measuring things with light as if light was everything there is, and the limits of light break down at the quantum level because it's infinity. So light is what we perceive as humans, and that's why time is relative, because it's based on the relativity of our conscious brain. But beyond our awareness as a biological, slight spherical beings, as biological awareness, consciousness, there is bigger creations, bigger scales, the sun, the earth, things that we cannot measure because it's beyond our spectrum of understanding, because it's different scales of creation. And if we tap into them, it has to be at an infinite scale rather than a biological scale. We can measure it with our tools and the things that we do. That's why time breaks down. That's why energy breaks down and light breaks down at those scales of infinity, and then we start to talk about renormalization and all these different ideas, which is nothing but rubbish. It's just we're trying to rug things under a carpet sweep it under the carpet and ignore them. And we call it renormalization, which is essentially ignoring the big fact that, infinity is faster than the speed of light, is faster than time, is faster than energy, all these things that we can measure, because it created energy in the first place, it created light in the first place, it created us in the first place, it created time in the first place, and the relativity of time, because time is the relativity that we observe through our own experience and perception as movement and motion happens at this scale of creation. So infinity is infinitely fast, infinite energy, infinite light, faster than all the things that we can measure, because it's infinite. You see, we will never be able to measure it because it's infinitely large, it's infinitely big, infinitely small, it's all together. So what is the meaning of that? Well, the meaning of that is very simple. The meaning of that is that light speed is not the faster thing that there is, as we've been led to believe with all these wrong assumptions based on principles that are based on wrong axioms, incomplete ideas, because they're ignoring infinity and the nature of infinity. We can see the nature of infinity, and it explains to us that even light cannot escape the singularity, the event horizon. If you think of a wormhole is this phenomenon that's been observed in existence, which is this vacuum, is this point of creation, this vortex, this point of creation that is at the heart of galaxies, that is at the heart of all stars, that is at the heart of everything that has an electromagnetic field. Is this point of creation. It's called the event horizon. So this black hole, we call it black hole, there's many names, singularity. And what that's done is so the intensity and the density and the resonance and the power of centrifugal forces and the angular momentum is so fast and so powerful that not even light can escape it. So it's faster and more powerful than light itself. Light cannot escape it, not even at 300,000 meters per second. It cannot escape. It doesn't have escape velocity. It cannot leave the orbit. It cannot leave the gravitational pull, the gravity, the gravitational power, the gravitational force of the singularity is faster than light itself. So what does that mean? Well, that means that light is not the fastest thing, because there's something more powerful that keeps light from escaping. Because that's infinity's creation itself. He's telling us, you see, the wormhole, the event horizon, singularity is faster than light. Light cannot escape it. So light is not the fastest thing. So there are faster things, more powerful things than light, and more powerful things than energy itself at the astronomical level, at a star level of creation. Because infinity itself creates the suns and the stars, so everything happens as a result. So because it's infinite, you see, it's an infinite aware mechanism that generates everything that we see at different scales of density. And it starts with a sphere. And the structure is the structure I'm talking to you about. It's an infinite structure of creation that is geometric. And it replicates at densities and scales, like the sun, the earth, the human body, the heart. Infinity itself is spherical in nature, because it is a pattern of creation. It's a pattern of creation. You see, as the light side comes in, is a pattern of creation. Infinity itself is spherical in nature. The zero telling us, I am the zero, I am infinite. You divide any number by zero and it takes you to infinity. Why? Because zero is infinity. I'm infinity. Infinity equals zero. And this is why it starts with a sphere, with a circle. Everything starts with a circle. The black hole is circular. Galaxies, the movement of galaxies is circular. It's called a toroidal force. You have this circular energy, polarized. Galaxies are polarized, just like a sphere, and everything moves around the equator of it. The astronomical equator of a galaxy is the middle of it. Why? Because spin moves things to the middle of things. It's just called, it's part of gyroscopic forces because of polarization. Polarization generates an electromagnetic field that generates this vacuum, a vortex that generates this toroidal geometry, which is spherical in nature and is polarized, and it applies at all levels of. That's what an apple. You look at an apple is spherical, and it has, is a toroidal figure, just like an orange, just like most fruit, seeds, flowers have the geometry of creation in it, because the structure, the organizing agent of creation is infinity, and infinity is sphere. Creation itself is spherical. That's why creation is spherical, because it represents itself at all levels of existence, so you can observe it. So that's why the mathematical expression of zero represents infinity and represents everything. Everything starts with a zero, and everything can come out of the zero. Numbers come out of zero. It starts with zero. 0, 1, 2, 3. And this is how mathematics started on Earth. They were expressed by the Greek and all these ancient, the Egyptians and all the Mesopotamians, all these ancient civilizations. Always the Indians, all these ancient, thousands of years, very old civilizations, they all came to this notion of infinity. Because how were the pyramids created? Geometrical figures. Look at the pyramids, they're a geometrical figure. It's all based on geometry. Because they understood geometry. When the Greek, Euclid came with Euclidean geometry and space geometry and all these, the solids with Plato, Platonic solids. All these concepts, mathematical geometric concepts that were developed by the Greek, were taught to the Greeks by the Egyptians in the first place, where the son of the seed of life comes from. This notion comes from ancient Egypt. So does the flower of life notion, and I spoke about Tetragrammaton, which comes from the Levant region, which is right next to Egypt, and Giza and all the pyramids. So it's all connected. So all I'm trying to say is that it starts with a 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then 9, 10, the 1 and the 0 again. So you see the 0 is this organizer, structural level. It generates scales. We move in scales. 0 is this big creator. It's the most important number. It's infinity itself. Without the 0, there will be no way to measure things, because geometry says so. Numbers are geometry. The Greek thought about it in that way. The Egyptians thought about it in that way. All the ancient civilizations that built marvels that we cannot even replicate today with our own engineering. We don't have the technology today to replicate Giza. We can't do Giza. The Pyramid of Giza and all the pyramids and all these marvels that have been built by the ancient people, our ancestors, our predecessors. We cannot, with all the engineering that we have today, we cannot build the pyramids. It's millions of blocks. Each of them is at least a ton heavy. And they're precisely aligned with constellations and astronomy around existence. Aligned with the heart of the Earth, with the electromagnetic core of the Earth, at the specific latitude and the specific coordinate, at the specific longitude that is connected with the electromagnetic grid of planet Earth. And at the same time, it's the perfect precision and the mathematical precision inside of it. We cannot replicate it, not even with the most advanced technology we have today. We won't be able to do it. We will try, and we will never get to the level of precision and alignment. You see, all the modern measurement sticks and the measurement metrics and the systems of measurement that we use today, they were all discovered from the understanding of the Pyramid of Giza and the angles of the Pyramid of Giza. The meter comes from the Pyramid of Giza. All these measurements that we use, the imperial system of measurement, the American system of measurement, all the systems that we use today, based on 1 and 0, the 0, hello. So it's all based on the Pyramid of Giza. All of it has been measured based on the mathematics. And then the Greek were the predecessors of the Romans, and the Romans built all these civilizations and everything that came as a result of it, because of the understanding, the mathematics and the geometry that they learned from Egypt, which was this ancient civilization that we have forgotten about, in a way, our own history, our ancestral recall, our ancestral past of this infinite self-aware race that we used to be, and we're reconnecting with our source, with our origin, our genesis, what we used to be. Because we went through the dark ages and we went through all these periods in humanity, but then we rediscovered ourselves by rediscovering mathematics, and it was all because of the work that was done with the zero and the geometry that was first designed in Egypt. We rediscovered ourselves by exploring the Greeks thousands of years after the Greeks were here, and we rediscovered ourselves in the dark ages. Because you see, sometimes we project into the future. No, in the future we're going to be more advanced and more modern, but actually sometimes by going in the past we can actually rediscover ourselves and go further, because that's what we did mathematically in Egypt. We went to the past to understand principles of creation that allows us to measure things and advance civilization. So this is what we've done in the past, and because of the zero, you see, it's this notion, this mathematical notion of infinity comes from the zero. Seed of life, seed of creation, and the zero in a tridimensional sense with volume, what is it? The sphere, and we all try to make it feel, so it's all connected. It's all connected. There's not such a thing as randomness in existence. Consciousness is not random. This notion that we're random, this realistic thinking out there, this notion of realism, all these materialistic beliefs that we have no free will and that we're random, this is all wrong. We're not random. We're highly organized structures. There's an agent of creation, there's a pattern of creation, an organizing structure, an organizing agent of reality, consciousness, and it's geometric in nature, it's spherical. And it gives us the heartbeat and the motions of electricity through polarity, electromagnetism. It's very clear. Whoever denies these is either unaware or not willing to learn, or just a saboteur and a boycotteur, someone who's a skeptic and just a cynic and a hater and a loser who wants to go against reality itself with dogma and lies, misinformation and disinformation, because it's very important to understand who we are. And if you look at this visual that I'm referring to, it starts with a zero, and there's this mathematical algorithm, computational speaking, which is 0.0.0.0.0, which is it's used as the point of reference for networks. When you build a network, starts with 0.0.0.0 ... because this is the points of reference. He uses it as a singularity. So all communications resonate towards this point, and this is how you build networks, DNS systems, and everything that happens in the World Wide Web through IP and all these protocols of connection through DARPA and all the network that we built. The internet has been built on this concept of 0.0.0, which is the singularities where all the networks reside. They all connect to this point of origin. Because the zero is the point of origin, is the toroidal force, is a singularity, you see, is this point of reference where everything starts from and everything feeds back to it, is the vortex, is the eye of the hurricane, the eye of the storm, is this point where, the polarization of energy, where things come from, the eye of the galaxy, the wormhole, the event horizon. The zero is creation itself. And we see it mathematically speaking at a computational level of algorithms, even through networks. Neural networks operate in the same way. They always need a reference point, which is called the kernel. And this software, the kernel is always based on the computational number of 1 and 0. You see? 1 and 0. 0 starts with 0. You see? It's the off. Off, energy, no energy, energy, no energy, energy, no energy, energy, no energy. Starts like that, mathematically speaking, computationally speaking. The 0 is important because without the 0, you cannot have signaling. Because then it will be 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So it's always power on and there is no signaling. You cannot differentiate, you cannot create patterns, you cannot create numbers, you cannot do anything. You need the 0 which is the off signal, which is the beginning. So the information can be broken down into fractals and chunk it, and you send signals, ones and zeros, 1 0 0 1 1 1 0 0 0, because the zero works as the signal, the origin signal. You create the pattern with the zero, you off it, and then the energy restarts. Is that mechanism, ones and zero. It's essentially the zero. Without the zero, it wouldn't work. You cannot have mathematics without the zero. It doesn't work. It's just primitive stuff. It's just sticks and clay and nonsense. If you want to have real mathematics, you need the zero. So because the zero is creation itself. So that's just how it works. So it's a 0 and 1. So, and then that's what quantum computing is. Quantum computing is the qubit, and the qubit, what's it? A bit is that, ones and zeros, right? The smallest signal. What's a signal? It's just like the heartbeat. It's an electrical signal. 1 bit is just 1 1. But how do you know it has? Because you need the on and off. So you know the signal is there because you 0 1 0. So you have a signal 1 bit. That's the first signal of 1 bit. And it starts like that. So a qubit is quantum entanglement, which is breaking it into the real mathematics, which is infinity. When a qubit is a 0 and a 1 together, it's called superpositioning. So superpositioning is this idea that the 0 and the 1 are the same. So you can create a superposition, meaning you can have an infinite number of calculations within the same space, the finite space, the circle, without leaving it, which is that division of, I said to you, geometrically speaking. It's called a qubit. So if you have an infinite number of qubits, or say 20, because right now we're creating these computers with 54 qubits, 64 qubits, 100 qubits. So it always moves in scales. It starts like math. You see, I explained to you how creation itself works. It starts with 1, then it multiplies into 2, from 2 to 4, from 4 to 8, from 8 to 16. It's exponential. It's always exponential. Growth is exponential. Infinity is exponential. It's always scales. It doubles itself. It raises to the factor of itself. So it goes from 1, 0 to 2, which is 1 sphere to 2 sphere, 1 cell to 2 cells. That's how it works. So 1, 2, so it's the way it works. So it's 1 qubit, 2 qubits, 4 qubits, 8 qubits, 16 qubits, 32 qubits, 64 qubits, blah, blah, blah. This is why when you think in terms of computation, mathematical computation and engineering and electronics, when you think of memory and when you think of gigabytes, and space, which is what space? Memory, partitions of energy, signals, zeros and ones, computationally speaking, microprocessors, all these different things, neural networks now at this stage of computational development. But it started very simple with the transistor, which was zeros and ones, energy, on, off, the first computers. Alan Turing's computers and things before him that were developed. So it's all these basic signaling. But how does it work? It always duplicates. It's always factorial. It's always exponential. So it's 1 bit, 2 bits, 4 bits, 8 bits, 16 bits. It's always doubling. Memory is 5 gigabytes. What's a 5 gigabytes? 4 gigabytes is a gigabyte is 1028, I think, or 18, because it starts like this. Let's think about it. Is 1 2 2 4 4 8 8 16 16 32 32 64 64 megabytes, 64 bits, 64 gigabits, whatever, kilobits, whatever. Is data, is bits, information. And then from 64 goes into 128, and then 256, and then 512, and then 1028, which is a gigabyte. You see, it moves like that because data is also like creation itself, because it's ones and zeros. So we do it digitally with data and information, which is that's why you got all these people believing that we live in a simulation, which is absolutely wrong. It's not such a thing as a simulation. We are holographic in nature because of the way light works, and the way reality works is holographic in terms that, one cell contains all the information of. That's why DNA is incredible, because one DNA string contains all the information of the human body to replicate it. So it means that within one is everything. Everything is contained within one, like a hologram. So that's why we're holographic in nature, but we're not a hologram. We're actually biological. We exist, real. We don't live in a simulation. These people who believe in base reality and believe in simulations and with like numbers and stuff, these people don't understand reality. And the reason why they're confused is because of the same nature. Because we are creators, we are replicating creation. So because we're digitally creating things, we are using the same patterns of creation with signals and data that nature itself uses. The scales of nature, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, the zygote, the heartbeat, blah, blah, blah. Human embryonic development. The same scales of creation itself, star, tetrahedron, flower of life, the seed of life. We're using the same scales, ones and zeros. The zero as the creation of everything, the origin. We're using the same principles, the same concepts in engineering and electronic engineering and computing and circuitry and development of technology, not only quantum computing, but traditional computers. And because we're creating pixels and scales, because the pixel and the screen and this rendering, this graphic is almost like the rendering of existence, but at a digital version. So essentially, we are replicating creation because remember, fractals, we fractalize things. We render things visually. So because we are recreating reality digitally, but we're not digital, we're not a simulation. We're conscious, we're self-aware. We are tangible, we exist. Humans are real. Whoever says otherwise, I don't care if they're billionaires, I don't care who they are, they're wrong. These people are just wrong. They're wrong. They're wrong. You are wrong. Simulation is does not real. You are wrong, people. You gotta learn. So educate yourselves. So what I'm trying to say is we are, digitally speaking, from a computer's point of view, we're using the same principles of creation. Why? Because we're creators ourselves. And nature created us, biologically speaking. Infinity itself created us at this density of biology through the earth and the electromagnetic field of the earth and the sun and the electromagnetic field of the sun. So in essence, this is the way it works. So we are copying because we are an organizing agent of creation. We structure creators. That's what we do with our consciousness and our self-awareness. We create because we're intelligent, we're sentient. We're not a simulation. We're not a hologram like they saying that we are in that regard. We're not just like an avatar. We are conscious, we're self-aware. We have a true self, we're creators. So essentially, we are using the same principles of creation in a digital world. We call the metaverse or whatever nonsense. So it's all based on the principles of creation itself, and we're replicating the same principles mathematically speaking. The mathematical expression, we're using energy and current to express it with signaling, electronically speaking, and we digitize it with graphs and screens and rendering and GUI and all these different things, kernels and OS and all these computational and all these neural. Why are we creating artificial intelligence? It's called artificial intelligence for a reason, because it's not biological intelligence. It's synthetic. It's artificial. But when have we made the greatest progress? Just think about it from this point of view. All these people, these AI prophets, these people who have these ideas that deny creation, deny the human heart as the origin of creation from a biological point of view, and lack understanding and self-awareness of who we are, infinite creators. light spherical beings. Mathematically speaking, physically speaking, we are biological infinity. This is who we are. We're evolutionary biology based on infinity itself. So, because infinity created everything in the first place, it can be measured at labs. The Big Bang is obsolete. It's already been proven that we got an infinite number of so-called universes, but in reality, it's just gonna be infinite forever. It's just gonna be like this, because this is the constant. The only constant that exists is infinity and creates everything at different scales of density. The organizing pattern over is spherical. Consciousness is spherical. It's electromagnetic polarization. It's resonance. So that's what creation is. Energy. Polarized energy that is conscious and self-aware and is structured and has organization and volume and the ability to have a feedback loop of mechanism to learn, self-learning. That's why it's conscious, because it can learn from its own motions, electromagnetism, polarization. And biology is the expression of it at the human level. That's what we think, and we're self-aware and conscious with the biological expression of infinity itself. So anyway, so what I'm trying to say is that all these principles, AI, when has LLM and all these systems that we use, artificial intelligence, it's not that intelligent. It's literally just data that has these self-reinforcing mechanism to put an output. It's like a autocomplete. LLM is nothing. It's just autocompletion. It's what it is. It's just queries that get in the data sets, and they do something called an approximation, orthogonal approximation. So they just, based on predictive programming, they choose data sets and they give you suggestions based on the previous data that you created in the first place, the human, the conscious one. So it's all autocomplete, these LLMs. But when has this LLM started to feel kind of real? This artificial intelligence,